Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Café Muse. Thank you, Michael Davis, for beautiful guitar music. I'm Majda Gama, and I'm hosting tonight along with Henry Crawford, who, lucky us, is also working his technical magic. Our featured poets tonight are Zeina, Hashem, Beck, and Tim Seibles. I will kick the evening off by introducing Zeina, then Henry will introduce Tim. We encourage you to buy our featured authors' books tonight and to donate to Café Muse to support our literary programs. The links for buying books and making a donation will be in our chat. You know the drill, but I'll tell you anyways. Audience members have been muted. This helps prevent feedback, problems for our readers, and ensures uninterrupted programming. Please bear with us if we do encounter a glitch. They happen sometimes, but I know you'll forgive us if they do. During the reading, please use the chat to comment or show your appreciation of our featured poets. On-screen finger snaps are acceptable too. Our program is scheduled for 1 hour. I'm going to pause at this point in time to welcome Grace Cavalieri to the party. It's her birthday. Happy birthday, Grace. For those who don't know, she's our poet laureate in the state of Maryland, among many other things. And thank you for joining us again to the audience on such a stellar night for poetry. Please join us again next month on November 7th, Monday, November 7th, when we will feature the poets Marianne Baruch and Catherine Williams. Now let me introduce to you the poet Zeina Hashem Beck, who is reading for us from her new book, Oh. Zeina first came to my attention in 2014 when her debut book, To Live in Autumn, a book about Beirut, was published. I became a fan of her poetry almost immediately. Something in her style, her words, and her ways with language was utterly unique in the world of English and Arab Anglophone poetry. Zeina is fluent in 3 languages and chose English as the vessel language for her poetry. It's incredible to hold her book, Oh, out from Penguin, knowing that she blazed her own trail here while always on the move and always questioning the function of language, of borders. From her home city of Tarablis, Tripoli in northern Lebanon, to the famous American University in Beirut, diaspora life in Dubai, and now her new domicile in the Bay Area of California. She guides us through her poems like an Arab explorer of old, reinventing language and form to accurately capture the ever-shifting landscape around her, the exile of the Lebanese as they always yearn for home while rooting where they can find safe ground. We are so lucky to have Zeina here in the USA, writing as part of our poetry community. Oh is a book that pulls you in and requires return. Formally muscular with triptychs, her signature ghazals, and the duet, a form she invented to allow the Arabic language to converse with or contradict the English language in a poem. With the Arabic always justified right and no translation, we enter a trusting dialogue with the poet who provides belief in us to follow her poem to the very end and to reach an understanding that there are places where language fails us, but that it's still possible to emerge from the unknown into the known. In the intro note to Oh, we are told, reading this collection is like walking on the edge of things. Zeina Hashem Beck is a Lebanese poet. Her 3rd poetry collection, titled Oh, was published by Penguin Books in July 2022. Her 2nd full-length, Louder Than Hearts, won the 2016 May Sarton New Hampshire Poetry Prize. Zeina is also the author of 2 chapbooks, Arabi Song, winner of the 2016 Rattle Chapbook Prize, and There Was and How Much There Was, chosen by Carol Ann Duffy, who praised her remarkable gift for storytelling. Her first book, To Live in Autumn, won the 2013 Backwaters Prize. Her poetry has been featured on the Academy of American Poets Poem a Day and has appeared in The Atlantic, The Nation, The New York Times, Poetry Magazine, and elsewhere. After a lifetime in Lebanon and a decade in Dubai, she recently moved to California with her husband and 2 daughters. Please, ahlan wa sahlan ya Zeina. Please welcome Zeina to Café Muse.
Thank you, Majda, for this generous and thoughtful and abundant intro. I'm truly moved. Thank you. Thank you, Café Muse. I'm very honored to be reading here tonight. I'm a fan of Tim's work, so I'm happy to be reading with Tim. And happy birthday, Grace. I met Grace in DC. That was I think my first time in DC. Yeah. We met in 2016 or 2017. And you interviewed me. So, or maybe 2017, most probably. So happy birthday. It's nice seeing you here. All right. So I was told to hold up the book. So I'm listening. This is the book. And yesterday there was a cake with this book on it. A few friends had a party for the book in their backyard in Oakland. It was really lovely. All right, so I'm going to begin with a poem titled Pilgrim. I see you collect the scatter of houses that abandoned you. Friend, I see you lick the backs of photographs like stamps and still they fall from your shoulders. In this one, you are young, before countries and children. Sit down. Like you, I collect what worries me. Fatherlands are ominous and comforting like the eyes of those who love us. And my city is a leash that suffocates me the farther I stray from the Mediterranean between the buildings. The swing sings its rust in the wind. Neither water nor stone will do. I've given up cigarettes and libations. I separate the jars on the bookshelves. These are for the ash, and these for the pickled, cheap icons. No matter how much vinegar I pour, the Marys never close their eyes. No matter how many times dawn is slaughtered, I cry when the minarets crow. This one begins with a quote by the Iraqi mystic Rabi' al-Adawiyya, and the quote goes, "Where are you from? There. Where are you headed? There. What are you doing? Grieving." The poem is titled There, Grieving. Little brother, we are all grieving and galaxy and goodbye. Once I climbed inside the old clock tower of my hometown and found a dead bird, bathed in broken light like a little Christ. Little Christ of our hearts, I know planets light years away lie under our tongues. We've tasted them. We've climbed the staircases saying, there. Little brother, we are all praying. Every morning I read out loud, but not loud enough to alarm anyone. Once my love said, please open the door. I can hear you talk. Open the door. Little Christ of our hearts, tell anyone you've been talking to God and see what happens. Every day I open the door. I do it by looking at my daughter on a swing, eyes closed and crinkled, teeth bared. I say, good morning, you little beating thing. Little brother, we are all humming. More and more as I read, I sound like my father with his book of prayers, turning pages in his bed. A hymn for each day of the week, a gift from his mother who taught me the 10 of diamonds is a win, left me her loose prayer clothes. Bismillah, little Christ of our hearts, forgive me, for I loved eating the birds with lemon and the sound of their tiny bones, but I couldn't stomach the eyes of the fried fish. Little brother, we are always hungry. Here, this watermelon. Here, some salt for the tomatoes. Here, this song for the dead birds in time boxes and the living. That day in the clock tower, I saw the city too below. The merchants who call, the blue awnings, the corn carts, the clotheslines, the heat, the gears that turn, and the remembering. I think I kind of gave in to motherhood poems in this collection. I allowed them a lot more space than I usually do. This one is for my older daughter, who's 14, and I'm not her favorite person at the moment. This goes back to a time when she was 2, and it's titled Flamingos. As the nurses pushed your bed into the OR, you extended your arms toward us, and we promised we'd take you to see the flamingos in the hospital garden downstairs. When you woke up, you refused to pee on the diaper underneath you. You'd been potty trained for months. So we brought the bedpan and explained you couldn't walk yet, but soon. I learned to listen to your monitor in my sleep. The worried aren't supposed to be hungry, but I ordered food because it was reassuring to know there was someone grilling chicken in a restaurant in the city, in the outside, which still existed. I decided to Google Lady Gaga and watch her videos. I contemplated dyeing my hair red. The day they took you out of the ICU, I left to take a shower at home. On my way to the kitchen, my hair dripping, my arms full of laundry, for a second, I must have forgotten my step, twisted and cracked my ankle. I hollered until the pain settled. Your father was with you. Your grandmother held your little sister and called out to God. I called a friend and leaned on him until we reached the car. In the ER, all I could do was laugh. I, who can barely handle a blood test, or a mild fever, or even ultrasound gel on my stomach. I, who can't hold still enough for an X-ray, laughed and told the doctor to fix my ankle quick. I have a daughter waiting in a room upstairs. Yes, here in this hospital. Isn't this funny? This is not about heroism. This is not about selflessness, for you know too well how many times I've refused to play cards with you, how many times I've failed to listen, how I obsess and disappear in search of words I don't always understand. Perhaps this is an apology. Perhaps I'm saying life will sometimes infect your daughter's lung and fracture your ankle in the same week. And most days, the car doesn't break down, and the children are healthy, and your husband loves you, but you will be terrified nevertheless, and sometimes empty. It's okay if you forget to put one foot in front of the other. And please, call me. I love you. I will tell you again the story of that afternoon. We both sat in wheelchairs, I with my leg cast, you with your IV, ate mashed potatoes, watched the flamingo sculptures, which you probably knew couldn't be entirely delivered from the stone they're made of, but still pointed. Look, Mama, this one is bending toward the water. This one is balancing on one leg. This one is about to fly. All right. So thank you. As Majda mentioned, there are some bilingual poems in this collection, English and Arabic. I call them duets. And the idea behind the duets is if you have a poem, if you understand English only, then you have a poem in English. And if you only can read Arabic, then you have a poem in Arabic. And if you're bilingual, then you can kind of go across the page like this and read them at the same time. And something, hopefully a third poem opens up in that convo between the two. So as Majda said, it's not a translation, it's a conversation, and the conversation is sometimes a contradiction. This is an ode to the Mediterranean Sea in Lebanon. I grew up with a really special relationship to the Mediterranean. It was always there, I always saw it, but it was also very inaccessible. This is blue أزرق. نرى البحر ولا نراه إلا في المنام. A patch, a glimpse among the antennas أو من بين الأشرطة على الأسطح. How to brave this blue. لا بحر لنا هنا ولا قوة. Sometimes I forget the sea is this close. لنا حب قديم يريد أن يحفر لك في الإسمنت شاطئا. My love, I want to dig a beach for you out of this cement. لنا مطر محمل تارة بعطش الأرض وتارة بعفن الشارع. Oh, old faith and new. Oh, time of wells and time of satellite dishes. لنا الحر والرقص على ظهور المباني. قد نرى بقعة بحر من هناك. Are the fish still edible? Our nets are full of plastic and trash. لنا كأس تجري فينا كنبع صغير ننسج فيه سماء وغروبا ونجوما وتراتيلا. My parents threw me in the sea when I was 2, and I floated. They called me little fish. My parents trusted the sea. إلهنا الأزرق لم نعد نعبده وما زلنا نحبه. Oh, blue God, we no longer worship but still love. لما لا نتذكر البحر إلا عندما تموت العصافير على الشرفات. Over breakfast, I had to convince a friend Beirut was still on the Mediterranean. لما ندون أحلامنا كل صباح. Are you sure? He asked. Is it a deep, bluest blue? ما أجمل الموت بلا ضرائح. Yes, I said. No, I said. ارفعني على كتفيك قبل أن نحرق المدينة. Lift me on your shoulders. Roll in the tires. Light them up. Oh, city, we no longer love, but still worship. لقد أقسمنا أن نقلع عن عبادة هذه المدينة. Right. Trying to see what. All right. So, there are poems about friendship in this collection. This is for my friend from Tripoli that I grew up with. I wrote this when she got sick, and it is titled, "We are young, we are beautiful." The square ceiling lights become faint windows on the clinic floor. The secretary answers the phone. "Why do you need Valium?" My friend was summoned and left me here, holding her cappuccino. We went dancing last night, though I had a stomach ache. But she insisted, get up, we are young, we are beautiful." We sang, we filmed the disco ball, the strobes. The secretary reminds the woman on the line to pick up her meds on Monday. Don't be late, there's a small supply. I breathe in, the hollow flowers weave in the sunlight. The cappuccino's getting cold. The brochures invite. Heard of multiple sclerosis? It's time you did. My friend dreamed of a shadow who asked her if she wanted to be healed. She told us last night in the car, then hoped the music in the club was good. It better be good, she warned. The secretary repeats, sorry, no more appointments today. The evacuation plan on the wall specifies 3, contain, close all doors behind you. My friend answered, yes, I want to be healed. The waiting room smells like strawberry chewing gum. The brochure explains autoimmune means response against self. Even in her dream, the miracle came with a condition, as miracles do, to take away 6 years from someone else. My friend refused. No. At the club, I searched for the toilets and she pointed over there. Here, I'll hold your bag. Are you okay? I didn't want to drink, but ended up with vodka anyway. There was blue light, and the shadow pulled her by the arm that often goes numb. Is this a good omen? Some days you wake up not sleeping. Some days you don't. Being diagnosed as early as possible is very important. The secretary staples the papers. The nurse strokes the tree tattoo on his arm. As we leave, I try not to step on the squares of light on the floor. I want something more certain and less holy for now. We do not close the door behind us. My friend walks ahead of me and I ask her to, hey, slow down a little. She turns around. Let's go sit by the sea. I better throw this cappuccino. Don't you want to reincarnate? I tell her, no. And she says, well, I hope we come back as sisters. Okay, I'm going to end on this one, which is a little bit of a funny one. It's also for a friendship poem, and it's titled, Thank You, Antidepressants. Reader, let me tell you how I keep it together. Friendships and antidepressants. Long walks on the beach with H. He pretends these are workouts. And Nutella in bed with R. She sends, boil the water, you better have chocolate, from her car. And endless voice notes with L. She calls them personal podcasts. And WhatsApp stickers on demand from F. It is time to MILF, said her sticker with my face and red lips on my 40th birthday. And rants with H, another H, about weight and the lands that spit us out. And talks under midnight bougainvillea with R, same R, about our mothers and children's rage. And daily morning phone calls with L, another L, about nausea and skin and food allergies she's sure she's got, though no doctor can confirm. And I say, if you're sure you got it, then you got it. You got it. And jokes across continents with H, another other H, about impossible geographies, and arguments with M about whether we got married in 2005 or 2006. I say our first married summer was a year before the war, and he says no, it was the summer of the war. And we laugh at how we measure time with pain, but not without tenderness. And conversations with G, better name this one, God, about my dislike for organized religion. And more long voice notes with H, another other H, about the opposite of grace. This happens daily. So thank you, friends, who are there when the sadness comes, or when my teeth fall apart. My teeth do that bi-yearly. Friends who unscared me of antidepressants, who reassured me I won't become another Z or my grandmother. And yes, thank you, antidepressants, and you, reader, who stayed with me and might be wondering why so many of my friends' names' first letters are the same. And the answer is, when I said together in the first line of this poem, I didn't mean it against fragmentation. Thank you.
Zeina, Hashem, Beck, thank you so much for your just magic language. Thank you. And I am Henry Crawford. And tonight we have a backstory with our poet, Tim Seibles. Last year, in the November edition of our series, Poets versus the Pandemic, we featured Alan King and Stephen Leva, who both mentioned their literary debt to Tim Seibles. This got us started on the prospect of getting Tim for our Café Muse online, and tonight we have him. Tim Seibles is a former poet laureate of Virginia and the author of several books of poetry, including Hurdy-Gurdy, Hammerlock, and Buffalo Head Solos. His fifth book, Fast Animal, was a finalist for the 2012 National Book Award and winner of the Theodore Rothke Memorial Poetry Prize. In 2017, Tim Seibles published One Turn Around the Sun, and his new book, the one he'll be reading from tonight, A Voodoo Libretto, New and Selected Poems, was released in January 2022. Tim Seibles' poetry just comes right at you with clear, bold honesty, whether describing the wound between rage and complete surrender, or noting that midlife holds a jagged edge. His language is pure expression, and at the same time, filled with detailed cultural references as wide as tea berry gum, the Vietnam War, or the music of James Brown. His portraits of youth and sensuous love hit us exactly where we are human. And all of this comes wrapped in an artfulness of form that sneaks off the page and into the mind of the reader. So, why should we wait any longer? Let's turn the Zoom stage over to Tim Seibles so he can ply his poetic art. Tim?
Thank you. Thank you, Henry. That was very nice. You can hear me okay? Anyway, okay, good. Anyway, as Zeina did, this is the book I'll be reading from primarily. If you can see it, I don't know, maybe I have to back it up. There it is, yeah. All right. Anyway, I might read a new poem or two just to do it, but mostly I'll read from here, I think. I figure this book covers, most of my life as a writer of poems. So I'll read some stuff from early on, and I'll go all the way to the more contemporary stuff, the newer stuff. This first poem it's called "Nothing But Football," and it was when I was certainly as a teenager, and even before that, I had wild dreams of being a football player, playing professional football, and so on. Which at this point, I'm grateful I did not play professional football, because there seem to be a lot of people whose brains have been destroyed by that game. But I had a buddy who shared my dreams, and his name was Melvin Strand. And this poem is dedicated to him, "Nothing But Football." It's in 3 parts, but I'll just pause between the parts. I'm not going to say the numbers. Brother, those days in the schoolyard, playing football with the sun preaching heat to the asphalt, when we thought everywhere was Sharpnack Street. Those were good days. You and me and all the moves we used, our feet fast and smart as God, our heads saved from everything but dreams of getting the ball and that single glorious, ever-present possibility of touchdown. Our sneaks laced with NFL highlights. Mel, with a football in our hands, we were right as priests. Heaven clearly in sight, ready to abandon the world just to get closer, just to fake the hell out of anyone trying to stop us. They couldn't stop us. You stutter dipped, I snake slipped, anything to spin, shimmy away, clean as light, slick as sweat, holy thieves in a forest of moving trees. What hymn, what hidden but unquestionable singing did we dance to then? I hated to play against you, trying to read the mystical sermons of your feet, the blur of your Converse sneaks, that sudden cut that always came sure as dark, and the finishing gallop that left us praying to your back. There was nothing more beautiful, no creature more purely one with its escape. And I have loved nothing and no one more than that 12th summer when we roamed the schoolyard beyond our parents, riding a football into this life. Every day, a new game, every catch, a blessing, every opening, a parting of the sea. Thank you, thank you. Like this. All afternoon, someone watches the shadow of a branch climb the legs of a chair. And from someplace behind her, you can hear the scratchy whine of a radio, not quite tuned. But climb is not the word. The shadow moves like something poured, spilling up rather than down the wooden legs. And though she is not thinking exactly this, the woman knows that climb is not the word. She is not climbing out of this mood. In fact, she is falling. Just as she fell awake this morning, the alarm tripping her up into the world, the sudden buzz like a catapult. And now, from this altitude, her bed is a blurry speck, hard even to remember. Blue sheets. Was the pillow soft? Her whole apartment, a tiny rectangular box, somewhere down there where once she had crossed and uncrossed her legs. And the woman thinks that if she really were high up, like a jet, like someone standing no hands on the wing, she would not be so concerned with the inch by inch of a shadow taking over a chair. She would be climbing hand over fist through the air, using her thick, nappy hair as a rudder, thinking, why haven't I always lived like this? While all the radios in America whimper the simulcast news of her defection, flying and filling her blouse the way a swimmer's hand silvers with ocean, her strong arms turning the beige shore to smoke as she weaves the far water into a second skin, a shadow she can leave there, like something spilled across the floor. Something like that one, there, that one, behind you, climbing. Thank you. It was such a pleasure to hear Zeina read those poems. I do not know Arabic. I wish I did, Lord knows. But I so love the sound of it. And I so love how it is not English, anyway. So thank you for that reading. I love those poems. And I love the poems that you read, which were in English, which of course, I can dive in easily to, but I don't know. There's something about the music of another language, particularly one sharply different from English as Arabic. Anyway, this is a poem called Commercial Break, Roadrunner, Uneasy. It's a persona poem. When I was a kid, I used to watch the Roadrunner and the Coyote. I loved that cartoon. It was like a kind of church to me as a kid, Anyway, so this is how I imagined the Roadrunner speaking. Commercial break, Roadrunner, Uneasy. If I didn't know better, I'd say the sun never moved ever. That somebody just pasted it there and said, to hell with it. But that's impossible. After a while, you have to give up those conspiracy theories. I get the big picture. I mean, how big can the picture be? I actually think it's kind of funny. That damn coyote always scheming, always licking his skinny chops. And me, pure speed, the object of all his hunger, the everything he needs. Talk about impossible. Talk about the grass is always greener. I am the other side of the fence. You've got to wonder at least a little if this could be a setup. With all the running I do, the desert, the canyons, the hillsides, the desert, all this open road has got to lead somewhere else. I mean, that's what freedom's all about, right? Ending up where you want to be. I used to think it was funny. Road runner, the coyote's after you. Road runner. Now, I'm mainly tired. Not that you'd ever know. I mean, I can still make the horizon in 2 shakes of a snake's tongue. But it never gets easier out here alone with Mr. Big Teeth and his Acme supplies. Leg muscle vitamins, tiger traps, instant tornado seeds. Come on, I'm no tiger. And who's making all this stuff? I can't help being a little uneasy. I do one of my tricks, a rock scorching razor turn at 600 miles an hour, and he falls off the cliff. The coyote, he really falls. I see the small explosion, his body slamming into dry dirt. So far down in the canyon, the river looks like a crayon doodle. That has to hurt, right? 5 seconds later, he's just up the highway, hoisting a huge anvil above a little yellow dish of bird feed, like I don't see what's going on. You know how sometimes, even though you're very serious about the things you do, it seems like secretly there's a big joke being played. And you're a part of what someone else is laughing at, only you can't prove it. So you keep sweating and believing in your career, as if that makes the difference, as if playing along isn't really playing along, as long as you're not sure what sort of fool you're being turned into, especially if you're giving it 100%. So when I see dynamite tucked under the Acme Roadrunner cupcakes, as long as I don't wonder why my safety isn't coming first in this situation, as long as I don't think me and the coyote are actually working for the same people, as long as I eat and get away, I'm not really stupid, right? I'm just fast. Thanks. This is a poem in which the poem is a character in the poem. And the title leads directly into the body of the poem. Seeking asylum, the poem enters quietly, without any state-approved ID, with nothing that says where it belongs. Many things had become unbearable, so much so that when the official asks, "Why did you leave your country?" the poem turns its palms up and sobs at the shiny white vinyl walls until 2 uniforms haul it out the door, down the hall, bruised into the bustling lunchtime street, where the blur of pedestrians every few steps is punctuated by homeless persons, some screaming as if to disprove their invisibility, some curled like commas on the sidewalk. A wind pats down the trees. Heavy clouds have come uninvited, crowding the city sky. Maybe I can't belong anywhere, the poem mutters, so no one will hear. Maybe I should have said I had to leave because there's nowhere left to go. Though the poem, who'd spent its life trying to be clear, knew those words didn't make any sense. Being itself a stranger, estranged, The poem is bugged by a niggling question about its own true origins. But who really gives a shit? The poem shouts as the back to work citizens veer and scatter. In some shop windows, the poem almost sees its face, brown, indelible, familiar, disappearing quietly like the mist that had just begun to fall. Thank you. Donna James. I remember that first time, the empty auditorium, her voice, the dark all around us, her mouth reaching into mine. She was Tony's foxy older sister, and I didn't know why she wanted to kiss me. She had already finished high school and probably shouldn't have been walking the halls. But she always called me her friend. So one Monday after gym, I found myself beside myself in front of her house with my trench coat and lunch bag, probably not looking much like Shaft. Inside, the air held warm milk, and we talked a bit about her baby and her aunt, who paid the rent painting cars. Maybe she liked me because we were both Black and mostly alone in the suburbs. But I hadn't thought about that. It was her voice that got me. Banked fire, the color of dusk, her voice. And my name was smoke in her mouth. I think about it more than I should now, that January noon, an hour before algebra, how most days I'd be thinking football or replaying the 70-some kisses I'd gotten over those lean years. But that day, Donna and me were on the couch munching potato chips. Ruffles have ridges, she kidded, coming from checking the baby who'd slipped into a nap. I was kind of disappointed that we hadn't done anything, but I needed time to get back to school, so I started to stand. She said, "Wait, look at this mess." And with her left hand, she brushed the crumbs from my lap, the way you'd whisk away lint. Then swept over my pants again, to be thorough, I guessed, but slower. And then some more, as if her hand were getting drowsy. You know how sometimes you see something but just can't believe it? Like a squirrel bobbling a biscuit on your kitchen counter, or a cricket creeping the red feathers of your mother's Sunday hat. Her hand there on my lap could easily have been a 5-fingered flying saucer from the 5th dimension. For a while, I just watched and wondered if she knew where her hand had landed. But it was me who didn't know. Me with my 6 dozen kisses and the great Eden of my virginity. How do we not talk about it every day? The ways we were changed by the gift in someone's touch. Your body, suddenly a bright instrument, played by an otherwise silent divinity. When I heard my zipper, I couldn't have said where my arms were or what a clock was for. I had no idea I could be such a stranger and still be myself. How could I have known what a girl might do to a boy with her mouth if she felt like doing what her mouth could do. It was a kind of miracle, the dreamed impossible. My soul finally called to my flesh. I didn't know what I didn't know, and then I knew. Thank you. "3030 Blues Villanelle." Who can tell a man not to go where he goes? I laid the long tracks, my life waves from the train. I was 30, almost 30 years ago. Being grown up means you're supposed to know, although I don't know what I can explain. And I was 30, like 30 years ago. I've been with the music breaking hard but slow. Jobs kidnap the daylight, then leave the remains. Just kiss me goodbye when it's time to go. It looks like we're losing, but say it ain't so. Dumb news and new killers get most of the fame. Why tell a man not to run when he goes? My dad's on a walker, his whole life in tow. If you'd seen him at 40, you'd say, what a shame. But he was 40 almost 50 years ago. Sanity works hard to put on the good show. But still some fine folks go off in the brain. They couldn't know that they didn't know. Why needle a riddle when the answer is no? Been poking the troubles, but the trouble remains. And I've been 30 since 30 years ago. I look at young men and think, where did I go? Play some guitar while death tunes my name. Guess this is the what I should already know, because I was 30 years ago. Thank you. I'll read this poem. This is a new poem. I figure I'll toss it in. You can see how my mind is deteriorating as I get older. This poem is called "Do They Own You?" I'm free this afternoon till 4. I'm free tonight. I'm just about free. You free for the 4th? Did you buy one and get one free? I'm free on Friday. I think it's a free-for-all. I'll be free for a while, but not tomorrow. I'm freer than you are. I'm free most weekdays this week. After that, I probably won't be free. You gonna be free pretty soon? Is today a free day? You're free till when? Did you get that one free? I'm pretty free, but not that free. Are they free or not? Ain't nothing free. I'm halfway free till Saturday. Is this free time? I'll be free after 6, not sure after that. Seem like you ain't never free. Did you get the free one or did you have to buy one? Can you get tomorrow free? I'm gonna be free all day. Thank you very much. It was a real pleasure, a real pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, that is the artistry of Tim Seibles. Thank you so much. Karen, do you have any questions?
I have one
say?
question. Okay, I have one question. And this is for both of you. What is the source of your joy of language? Because you both have that amazing joy of language. So where does it come from? Where is your source of joy in language?
Well, Zeina, do you want to go first? Okay. Anyway, my mother would read to me when I was a child. My father did too, but not as often. But my mother did. And whenever she'd read a story, and especially, she would act out all the parts, all the characters and everything. And that's really where it started for me, I believe. I think I read something like the way I remember her reading, I think. Of course, I have no idea. It was, 55, 60, God, 62 years ago when she was probably reading to me. But yeah, there was a great expressiveness and liveliness in the language in her mouth. And I think that was it for me. I think I didn't know it then, but that's probably why I started writing as a little kid. And I haven't stopped really since then. So that's the source for me.
Great answer.
I'm going to echo Tim a little bit. My mother didn't read to me, but a lot of the women in my family just kind of told stories. I think I'm influenced mostly by my mother and my aunt. Her name is Yathrib. Very, very unusual Arabic name, actually. And she passed away last month. I miss her a lot, but she was a firecracker. She was just like this larger than life person who always had stories. And my mom too, she's up until this day, she has, stories. So I think I fell in love with that at such an early age, just the stories told between the women in those spaces, in those afternoons. And when I started to read, because also I was like simultaneously taught in two languages, Arabic and French at the time, I was like, whoa, like, why does this word mean this? And then if you put it next to this word, it could mean something else. So I was always amazed by language, even in commercials. Like I used to recite commercials. If you grew up in the Arab world, you knew that commercials in the 80s were songs. All the time, they were songs, and they had like, I don't know, they had characters. So I always kind of walked around the house singing commercials. So yeah.
Oh, thank you both. What a wonderful reading you both gave. You gave us such joy. What wonderful words you presented to us.
Thank you.
Henry, I turn it back to you.
Okay, all right, very good. And as we bring this poetry reading to a close, I want to thank poets Zeina, Hashem, Beck, and Tim Seibles for bringing their poetry to us tonight. Michael Davis as well for your music. I also want to thank Karen Alanier and the WordWorks for sponsoring Café Muse. And let me give a big shout out to my co-host tonight, Majda Gama, and to my fellow co-hosts, Renee Garrity, Ellen Cole, Leah Johnson, Luther Jett, and Pam Winters. More importantly, I want to thank our wonderful audience for being here. If you want to watch tonight's program again, it will be up on our Café Muse YouTube channel tomorrow, and you can extend your enjoyment by purchasing the poet's books using the link that I have put into the chat and telling others about the series. Now, I hope you can join us for our next Café Muse program on Monday, November 7 at 7 o'clock, featuring poets Marianne Borsch and Catherine Williams. Please make sure you register on our Café Muse website so you'll receive information on this event, as well as the Zoom link. So have a wonderful evening, and I hope to see you all again soon. And happy birthday again, Grace Cavalieri.